Hello and welcome back to my channel. Well, I'm back from group this morning and I have my results and it's been a good week. I've stuck to plan totally and really enjoyed it. I did make a decision this week. Well, no, I didn't make a decision, it kind of happened. I was only between 5 and 10 sins each day this week. One of the reasons for that was I decided that I was drinking too much coffee at Costa and putting sugar in it, and whilst I was counting that sugar in my sins, I was feeding a bad habit. And the reality is, when I drink coffee at home, I don't put sugar in it, so why was I doing it in Costa? And a really nice lady kind of pointed it out to me in a kind comment, and it made me stop and think, why do we fall back into old habits and not even necessarily realise we're doing it? So I decided this week I would cut out the sugar in the coffees at Costa. I've still been drinking cortados and counting them, but without sugar. I also discovered a liking this week for Whitworth's shots, which is the dried fruit and nut mixers by Whitworth's. They're 4.5 or 5 cents each, and we have, I think, all the different flavours of them. So I've been using my sins this week on Manuka honey, a little bit of coconut oil, Whitworth shots, and I can't think of anything other than, nothing, extra milk maybe. But my sins have not gone under 5, but not gone over 10, and have probably been closer to 5 most days. Now, doing that, we also upped the walking a bit. We were fortunate enough to have 5 days this week where we could actually go out for a good walk, and clocked up 51.55 miles quite easily and enjoyably this week. So with that little increase in mileage and the decrease in sins, if I'm perfectly honest with you, I expected a £0.5 to a £1 loss. Didn't need it, but did expect it. But didn't get it. I actually gained £0.5 this week. So this is the craziness about this programme. I don't know why I wanted a loss. I was actually at 10 stone and a half pound, and I'm now at 10 stone 1, which is perfectly acceptable. And that is actually £6 under my target, so I'm out of the bottom end of my target. So why would it worry me? It worries me because my head is still totally insane around weight. And I wonder, whether we ever get over this. Will I always feel this way? Will I always be disappointed in myself if I have a gain? I mean, what's a £0.5 gain at 10 stone and half a pound? When, for Lord's sake, I used to weigh 22 stone. You'd think I'd stop and be proud of myself. But this is the reality, and I need to be honest about it. So, back to the drawing board. This week I intend to go back to having, let's say, 10 sins a day. Both A's, both B's, which I've had every day this week anyway. Stick to my normal level of exercise, which I thoroughly enjoy, and see where that takes me. We do have a meal out on Tuesday evening, which is at the really, really nice restaurant that we had my birthday meal at. And again, that will be, I would say a high sin meal. It depends what I choose to eat. It won't be a low sin meal because I intend to have 3 courses. I intend to enjoy it, but I do not intend to pig out. So, as I say, I also have a box of Reese's chocolate peanut butter bits or something that a friend bought me back from Canada this week, and I'm going to enjoy them. So, we'll see where next week takes me. I am not on a diet. This is an eating plan for life, and I live my life on a daily basis. I do not deprive myself. I eat what I enjoy. I eat a good amount of food. I eat quality food. So there you go. That's me for this week. Fabulous meeting this morning. Naomi was really thrilled, I think is the right word today, with the results that we had as a group. We have 2 groups at 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock. 153 people went through the 2 groups this morning, with a total weight loss of £171. I think that's 12 stone 3 pounds. That's a person, isn't it? A whole person it blows my mind. So I don't know how she feels. But I know this morning, you know, we went around the room because it was Mr. Sleek and Miss Slinky. It sort of cuts in a little bit to the time that we have for image therapy, but Naomi never neglects image therapy. It's really important. We went around the room and we shared, you know, our result for this week. And going around the room, and it was like £3 off, £2.50 off, £2 off, £5 off. It's amazing. Yeah, there were a few of us who had gains, but very few and very small gains. And those people had, apart from me, well, I haven't come back off holiday. Some of those people had come back off holiday. One had had a birthday yesterday and got to maintain. And it's just, you know, as we went around the room, and we had a 5 stone award today, and somebody got their 1 stone award in about 5 weeks. Somebody got half stone award in a couple of weeks. All of this stuff is really motivating. That's why I think it's important to stay to group. The 2 things I would emphasise for my journey have been sticking to plan, staying to group. That's what's got me where I am. Because if every week I'd just walked through those doors, stood on the scale, either got off pleased or miserable and gone home, I feel I would have missed out on so much. So in group this morning we had 2 guys nominated for Mr. Sleek, and the guy who won it had lost, now let me see if I can remember it correctly, 5 stone and half a pound in, I believe it was 32 weeks. And looks incredible. And here's a picture of the girl who won, Miss Slinky. Joe put it in here. Yeah, okay, it was me. I was embarrassed, but in a nice way. 3 of us were nominated, and the other 2 ladies deserved to win too. And it always seems a shame really that one person has to walk away a winner. We all got gifts. I got a candle and the other 2 ladies got gifts. And it's embarrassing in some ways to win. I won Miss Slinky last year, and I won't be allow myself to be put forward again next year, because there are so many people in those rooms who deserve to win. So many encouraging stories. One lady who was nominated shared that she was a celiac. And you know, I'd never considered that if you are celiac, it actually does have an impact on the way you do this plan. Because a lot of foods that are specifically made for celiacs are higher in fat or higher in sugar. So that's a double whammy really, because not only have you got to look at what's freely available on Slimming World, but you've then also got to take into consideration your medical condition. Cannot be easy. Another lady that was nominated shared that with her weight loss, and she'd been coming to group for a few months, you know, she's now medicine free. Did have high blood pressure, now has low blood pressure. This plan does so much for us other than change our dress size. And when you start to look at it that way, the dress size issue becomes minimal. I know it's important to us ladies, but over and above, you know, losing weight for health reasons, it's the icing on the cake if you can get into a smaller dress size. Looking at that picture today of me that Joe took when we got home from group, that is a great encouragement to me. We talk often about clothes sizes and how they vary vastly, but the clothes I'm wearing there, the trousers are a size 12 and they're really loose in the legs now, and the top is a size 10 from Oliver Bonus. Now if somebody had told me 5 years ago that I could have a photograph taken in that size of clothing, I would never have believed it. For many years I used to buy the Slimming World magazine when I could see enough to appreciate the pictures and the stories. See all these amazing women on there and not believe that these were real women. I thought they were just actresses or, you know, photographic models or something. And they're not. They're just like me, or they're just like you. They're real people, and anybody can put themselves forward for those stories, features in the magazine. I believe there's something near the back of the magazine that allows you to contact them and actually put yourself forward. And I'm sure that there are people who watch these videos who are very deserving of being in the magazine, and I would encourage anybody, or if you've got a friend who's in that position, I'd ask you to encourage them to do this. My consultant runs another local group on a Monday evening, where she has 2 groups like she does on Saturday morning with us. And a young lady from her group was encouraged by members of the group to put herself forward. I think she's lost 5 or 5 stone plus. She actually did. She contacted Slimming World, she put herself forward, and she's going to be in the next magazine. And I believe you have a lovely day out with the makeup artists and the photographers and everything. And what a lovely way to boost your results and to motivate yourself to stay at target. So yeah, if you feel that you would actually enjoy doing that and you've got the results to back it up, I would encourage you to have a go. In group this morning we went through the image therapy a little bit faster than we normally would, but I would like to just talk about my experience of image therapy over the last 18 months and how it's kept me motivated and on track. So my word for this week is image, I-M-A-G-E, which I believe stands for individual motivation and group experience. I think that when we go into the room on a Saturday morning for me, or a weekday evening maybe for you, that we have a responsibility to give back. Cannot just keep going every week and taking, because for me the spiritual aspect of life has to be balanced, and if I want to keep going into those rooms and receiving something, then I have a responsibility to give something. So I always try to think of something encouraging that's happened in my week to share in my meeting, and I'm sure lots of other people either consciously or subconsciously do the same thing, because going into that meeting on a Saturday morning and having people share their individual motivation is what leads to the whole group experience, because one person shares something. I mean, Tim, the lad who won Mr. Sleek this morning, was sharing very much about, you know, how he has better energy levels now. When he first came to group, he would find he'd run upstairs and he'd be out of breath. I'm not going to say what weight he started at, it's not my business to share, but he was a big lad. And he's not such a big lad now. I would have said he was in maybe 2 or 3 XL, and now he's probably in large. Looks great, doesn't he, Joe?
Yeah, he does.
He looks really great. And when Tim shared that, you know, how he would very easily get out of breath, lots of other people came forward and said, yeah, you know, we haven't realised how that's changed our lives. The extra bit, you know, the little distance further we can go with walking, the easier our housework is. Even standing to do the ironing and things like that isn't the chore it used to be. And all of these things, you know, individual experiences lead to motivating other people. So when we sit in group, and even if we've had a gain, you know, like this morning, I gained £0.5 pound. I don't see that as a negative, except my head still goes a bit wobbly because I've still got that old reaction to things, which I'm trying to change as I move along. But I don't see that now as a negative, because I know that I've been on plan, I've done for what for me is a good level of exercise, I've eaten healthily, I've eaten well, I've made good choices. Even down to what I spend my sins on today, I make wiser, healthier choices. But it's not because I'm trying to do, how can I put it? I'm finding this difficult to put into words. It's not because I'm trying to do things that evolve from diet mentality. I'm all the time trying to lean towards food that I enjoy, trying to find new foods that I enjoy. Now, for Joe to see me this week eating dried fruit in the form of these Whitworth shots is quite surprising, because for the entirety of Joe's life, I have hated fruit. I never ever would eat fruitcake or mince pies or Christmas cake or anything like that. I don't like anything like that. That led to me never eating things like currants and raisins and figs and dates, because I thought, yuck, they'll just be the same as Christmas cake. They're not. I don't particularly have a sweet tooth, but sometimes after a meal, I feel like just a little something sweet would finish it off. That used to lead to me eating biscuits and cakes and stodgy puddings. Now, if it leads to me having a Whitworth shot, surely for me that's a lot healthier. And I actually tried the tropical one yesterday with the coconut and the fruit and the Brazil nuts in. Fabulous. And just one bag of that is enough to finish off a meal for me. Now, this is very different from the woman who used to go into Marks and Spencer's and get a family-sized steamed pudding and a litre of custard, and finish off a meal that way. Because, you know, when you go to buy things like that and you see the little individual steamed sponges, that would never have been enough for me. Even a pack of 2 wouldn't have been enough for me. I'd have had to have the Heinz tinned steam sponge or a family-size steam sponge. And I love the 500ml tubs of Madagascar vanilla custard from Marks and Spencer's. Well, I did love them until I discovered they were over 1,000 calories. But today I don't need things like that. I'm making healthier choices and really enjoying them. So progressing with this plan has taken me totally out of diet mentality into an increasing desire to find healthy, enjoyable food. I'm always saying I only eat food if I really enjoy it. The old me would have eaten anything you put in front of me. And it's a freedom not to do that. Right, I'm sure there were 1 or 2 other things. Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to talk about. This has been something really close to my heart this week. Portion sizes. So, moving on from our word for the week, which was, as I said, image. Please focus on your image therapy and focus on what you contribute to group, because it matters. Yeah. Portion sizes. We sometimes talk about this in group. We didn't particularly this week, but it has come up once or twice in different places during the week. And people say, you know, Slimming World says you can eat as much as you want of free food. And I don't watch Instagram, I don't look or know what people post as their meals, but I do know that sometimes when I'm talking to people and people share what they actually eat, or I hear things on YouTube and that, I do know that for me today, I take a great responsibility for my portion sizes. And in my head, I've kind of formulated a list of what is acceptable to me today. The person I am today, at the weight I am today, I know 2 eggs is right for me. Joe would have more than that. He's taller and he's more active. I know that eating pasta, eating a lot of rice and stuff like that doesn't work for me anymore. So I tend not to have those things. I will occasionally have a Tesco pasta salad, but that's probably the most pasta I would eat. I know that for me today, 2 rashers of bacon or 2 bacon medallions is sufficient. I used to be the girl who would buy a pack of 8 bacon rashers and eat all 8. And I'd probably have a large tin of beans with it, 2 or 3 scrambled eggs, maybe more.
I think it's important to know that, the food and digestion is a lot of like stress for your body. It takes a lot of energy to like eat and digest food. So if you're like absolutely stuffing yourself at a meal, that's not healthy behaviour, and that's not actually going to help you in any way. Like, you shouldn't feel like completely like I can't even move
Is that because of the amount of stress you put onto your digestive system?
I think like 70% of the calories you burn in a day are just from like digesting and metabolizing the food you eat.
Yeah.
So it's like a massive...
You see, I didn't know any of this when I first came to Slimming World, and I know that my lifestyle depends on calories in, calories out, even though we don't actively talk about calories at Slimming World. If we stick to plan with the free food, especially the speed food, 2 healthy extras, as in 1A and 1B, and an appropriate number of sins, that actually does the calorie counting for you. You don't need to worry about putting it into MyFitnessPal or anything and keep trying to balance your books. Just let the plan do that for you. Excuse me. But what I do know about the things that Joe teaches me today is that if I was lying in bed in a coma, my body still burns calories because it has to do to keep me alive. If I've got a very academically or a job that stresses my brain, that uses my brain, that makes me have to think and react, that uses calories. It isn't just about how many calories you take in and then how many times you can go to the gym, or how many times you can walk 10 miles a day like I do, or how many times you can run around the block or do HIIT training or aerobics. Okay, all of those things will burn calories, but your body needs a certain number of calories just to keep you alive. Is there a sort of basal metabolic rate for basal sort of calorie for somebody like me? How much would that be, Joe, for a woman?
There's online calculators if you want to find that out for yourself.
So you can go onto the internet and what would you look up?
Basal metabolic rate, or TDEE, which is total daily energy expenditure. But that's for more calorie counting.
No, but it's an interesting exercise to see, I believe, that
that's how Naomi, because Naomi couldn't do exercise while she was losing the weight, but she still lost weight.
Yeah, my consultant couldn't do any exercise while she was losing her weight at Slimming World because she had a bad back. So she had to be wise, but she still lost the weight. So for all of us, there's a healthy relationship with food, and there's a relationship with calorie burning that will keep you fit and well. And it's not all about running around and being overactive. So the diet part of this and the exercise part of this, for me, needs to evolve into a healthy way of living.
Yeah, but that links back to what you were saying about the free food, like stuffing yourself so you can't move isn't a healthy form of living. Well,
part of my journey has had to be, at this stage in my journey, finding for me what are appropriate portion sizes. And in a lot of ways, I wish I had realised some of this earlier in my journey. I could have made it easier for myself. So today, when I look at my plate, I still have a generous plate full of food, but I don't have a mountain of pasta or a mountain of rice or half a packet of chocolate biscuits or half a loaf of bread. It's really important. And one of the things I encourage people, if anybody asks me for help today, and I do get asked from several different sources about my journey, I would never come on here and tell anybody else how they should do it. I'm just telling you what I've done, and a lot of it is stuff I wish I'd realised years ago. If I'm prepared to live within moderate portions and not over stress my system, I feel so much more energised. I just feel like a new person. Now, I know today that if I sat down and I over-ate, I would feel sluggish and not at all energised. So I think one of the most valuable things on this plan is to actually consider, when you're putting your plate of food together, as I know I do it today this way, is that an appropriate portion? One of the ladies in my group said something really good. She's only a youngish lady. When she first came to plan, and they said you can eat as much as you like, this young lady had a weight gain in her first week. Couldn't understand why. And then she said, it's because they said I can eat as much as I like, so I've gone from eating salads and things like I normally did to having big plates of pasta. She put weight on. Now, in theory, we'd say that shouldn't happen on Slimming World, but yes, of course it will if you eat too much pasta. The following week she made up a plan for herself and she actually dished herself up 2 dinners, one that she thought was an acceptable portion and then a mirror copy of it. And she told herself when she sat down to eat, that first meal is mine, and if I'm still hungry when I've finished, I can have the second meal. She never needed the second meal. She did it for, I think, a week or 2, and then has continued doing it because that second meal always makes a lunch for the next day. And I thought that was really good because, excuse me, obviously she didn't want to let go of the big portions. She needed to have that safety blanket. So telling herself that if she ate the first meal and was still hungry, she could have the second meal or part of the second meal, was giving herself that safety blanket. But she soon realised she didn't need the second meal. But like me, she knew that if it was on her plate, she would have eaten it, because I am still not very good at leaving food on my plate. If it's on that plate, it's mine. Don't you dare try and take it away from me. So now I start from the very beginning and consider what goes on the plate. 1 piece of meat, 2 rashers of bacon, 1 portion of this, a proper portion of that. And I wouldn't have 2 jacket potatoes today like I used to. I'd have 1. And it wouldn't be the biggest one I could find in Morrison's. It would be an ordinary, moderate sized potato. So yeah, this week, that's something I need to keep on top of, is portion sizes. Not letting them get too big again, but also not letting them be too small. I think where I went wrong this week on plan was I cut my sins too much. And this is a synergy, it's a plan of synergy. I think I cut my sins too much this week. So they're going up again and we'll see what happens. But it's been a good week. I have really enjoyed being on plan. I'm in this for life. And, if I go to group every week for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be sad about it. If I pay £5 to go to group every week, or £4.95, whatever it is, I wouldn't be sad about it. I have been considering resetting my target, and I am not sure about it. I know that to do it properly, I need to drop my target to 10 stone. I'm 10 stone 1 currently. I don't want a target that is hard work to maintain. I don't want to have to stress about maintaining it. At the moment, my target's at 10.7, so in theory I should be between 10.4 and 10.10. I know at 10.10 most of my clothes will be tight now. I know at 10.4 that's top side of okay for me. So maybe I do need to look at some point dropping my target to 10 stone. I'm not in a hurry to do that. I've got the rest of my life. And hitting target, as Joe, Mummy of Twins, said yesterday, hitting target isn't the end of your journey. It's, in a lot of ways, the beginning of your journey. I've watched a couple of videos this week of people sharing that they're coming back to YouTube and coming back to plan because they've gained weight. And they say things like, everybody does this. That puts the fear of God in me. I can't afford to do it. I cannot afford to regain even a quarter of the weight I've lost. And so for those people putting up the videos they've done this week, it's been a good jolt and reminder to me that everybody doesn't have to do this. I can't go there. Not and stay healthy. Not and stay off medication. Not and stay, with a normal blood pressure and a normal cholesterol level. And I'm not prepared to give all those things away again just so I can stuff my face. I'm greedy by nature, and I don't believe that will ever go away. But nobody feeds me except me. I feed myself. And I'm not going to feed myself fat again. Never. Can't do it. So, enough for this week. Thank you so much for watching. It's really appreciated. And we'll see you next week. But remember, it only works if you work it. It surely won't if you don't. Bye.